If you've switched on the radio in the past 12 months, there's every chance you've heard the song Somebody That I Used to Know. It's the biggest Australian hit in years. It's gone to #1 here in Britain, the United States and a couple of dozen other countries, and its unique video has had almost 300 million hits on YouTube. 300 million. Behind the sensation is an artist known as Gotye, whose real name is Wally DeBacker. He's about to start a worldwide tour, wrapping up in Australia in December. He agreed to sit down for an interview with 7:30 at his studio in country Victoria. But before that, here's a quick reminder of the song that's made him a massive star. Wally, thanks for making time to speak to us.
My pleasure.
You've had such incredible success with the song Somebody That I Used to Know. Are you at the point yet of wishing that you never have to hear the damn thing ever again?
Just recently I found myself in rehearsal, being in the middle of some lines and feeling like there's such an overwhelming sense of it's beyond familiarity. That I've wondered whether I need to actually prepare myself more actively to be able to kind of just connect with the song as I wrote it. I don't know, somehow in a pure way without the baggage of having heard so many interpretations.
Now you're just somebody that I used to know. Now you're just somebody that I used to know.
What's it like to see something that you've created go out there into the world and then it has this whole meaning well beyond, perhaps what you originally intended?
Inevitably, it's very mixed. It's 1 second it's incredibly exciting, and the other second I feel very self-conscious about it. Especially more recently when I feel like the song is really overplayed and probably saturated to the point of absurdity, where I feel like it's out of my hands, but I'm some kind of annoying presence, an audio presence in people's lives that they would prefer not to have there, especially if they listen to radio.
Did your parents have a big record collection when you were a kid, and did you trawl through it?
They had a bunch of records, mostly classical, which I didn't naturally gravitate towards, but I found the Beatles' Abbey Road very early on, some 7 inches by Kate Bush. I do remember they had Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy. There were a bunch of things there, and folk records that they used to play a lot.
How did your music taste evolve then? So your parents had that sort of stuff in the house. Where did you tend to go from there?
It was probably, like most kids, watching Saturday morning video shows, the radio. I listened to commercial radio when I was doing homework, and through friends. So, and it's probably still like that. It's a mix of probably now discovering things more online, still having friends suggest things, and being a more avid, searcher for obscure music. So going to secondhand shops, record shops, finding things on vinyl that have been forgotten, never reissued on CD, maybe especially stuff you don't even find online. It comes to me in all sorts of different ways, and being someone who is always looking for something new to listen to.
Tell me a little bit about how you experiment with sound and how you come up with some of your music.
I think I have kind of multiple endpoints in mind. I'm wanting to try and find sounds I haven't ever heard before and make music that sounds at least somehow peculiarly different to anything I've heard before, and yet I also really relish using existing pieces of music as the building blocks for what I do. So I love sampling records and cassettes, and collaging pieces together. And I love that kind of searching and discovering process, which actually defines how a lot of the music I've made.
What about sound in everyday life? If you're on a train and it's making a rhythmic click-clack and things like that, do those sorts of sounds inspire you as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I tried to do more of that on my recent record. I found an instrument in the outback called the Winton musical fence, which is large metal strings attached to wooden fence posts, and it had a little wooden resonant chamber attached to it. It was like sort of a public instrument in a way. I sampled sounds from that, and that turned into a bass line in a song.
I heard somebody talking once about being aware of the pitches of all of their household appliances and being able to sing along to the blender or the vacuum cleaner or whatever.
It's incredible when you tune your ears to different parts of the world, because there's so much kind of hiding out there. There's so much that as humans we naturally just zone out from, so much of a natural world even,
How do you know when you're working on a song when it's time to stop tinkering?
people would assume I would find that very hard, and I do sometimes do multiple mixes of my songs till they, I don't know, get that thing that feels really right to me. But often I have a very strong gut feeling. I think when I step back a bit from songs and records I've made over the years, I feel like mostly it's the simplest things I've done that often have the greatest power. And I look at the songs that I've maybe spent months tinkering endlessly with loops of hi-hats and more electronic sounds, and there are 200 channels of audio in the song, and they might be okay songs, but they're often maybe less successful than the ones that have one clear idea married with some chord progression or a really sort of choice sample that creates a certain mood. I take a lot of stock in that.
Given that your music is very layered, I suppose, is the word I'd use, how do you perform that live?
At the moment, I've been going between a 5-piece band and a 10-piece band in Australia, and so everybody plays multiple instruments and they all sing. Some of the instruments are quite electronic, so using laptops and software as a bass. We've got a lot of things like a thing called a mallet cat, which is like an electronic large xylophone. Do
you break the news to people you've got to learn the Winton fence, or you've got to learn these Chinese bells?
Well, I actually investigated trying to build a small-scale fence to take on stage with an instrument designer. The guy who actually built the Winton musical fence, Graham Lick, and he said it was feasible, but we didn't quite get that far. So in those cases, maybe I'll have large electronic pads which can then trigger samples that are pre-prepared.
Hearing all this makes me feel anxious because I feel like there's so much scope for stuff to go wrong in a performance. Do you have performance anxiety?
I've gotten better with that over the years. Yeah, I've never been like debilitated to the point where I haven't been able to get on stage or have had to sort of escape. I've certainly had incredibly tense, nervous moments. It's never usually been with the possibility of technology going wrong, because technology has gone wrong in plenty of my shows, and I've never felt too embarrassed about it. In fact, I often feel like that adds a human element. Well, the fact that you kind of go, well, sometimes a computer goes down.
So how has this success changed things for you?
I'm not sure I completely understand it yet. It's only happened in the last year, and I'm amazed sometimes that it is only a year that things have sort of exploded so much, because it feels like many years. And I guess that's just a reflection of how incredibly busy I and the guys in my band have been, and everyone I'm working with. But that's been an incredible experience. And so at times, here and there, I guess I'll feel a bit overwhelmed by all the challenges and the feeling of just kind of constantly having to do something for my career, I guess. But then, the other times, I guess I just love, the fact that it's always new experiences, and there's probably not much more you can ask for. I'm very lucky, I think, like that. The fact that when new opportunities come along, they present all sorts of challenges, but they present a chance to experience new things and I guess learn new things about yourself through that process. So,
Wally, thank you so much for making time to speak to us.
No worries, my pleasure.
And if you'd like to see more of Gotye, the full version of that interview will be posted on our website later this evening.